By the outer lintel of Giza's eastern pylon, surveyors record a recurring 4 to 9 span, an exact proportional cluster that reappears from Sumerian city gates to Roman Mithraea. That single observation forces a question. Is this mere stylistic coincidence, or a conserved architectural module carrying procedural meaning?
Welcome to Stargate Codex. I am Dr. Elias Thorn, lead historian and decoder of ancient systems. In each episode, we bypass standard chronological textbooks to dissect the preserved records, architectural mathematical constants, and structural anomalies left behind by history's most guarded initiatory networks, from the Egyptian priesthoods and Pythagorean brotherhood to the Knights Templar, the Rosicrucians, and the global web of clandestine political orders. This is an objective, archival deep dive into the hidden blueprints of civilization. Prepare to decode the pattern.
Listen, the anomaly is simple to state and stubborn in implication. Multiple independent surveys reduce certain lintel and clear opening measurements to the 4 to 9 proportion. Axial offsets, small lateral displacements of the clear opening relative to the building's axis, accompany the ratio in predictable ways. Those two facts together undermine explanations that treat gateways as improvised holes in walls.
Consider the primary field evidence. Giza pylon plans recorded in early 20th century surveys and later remeasured plans consistently give lintel to opening ratios reducible to 4 to 9. Comparable figures appear in Hittite gate plans and in measured Mithraea entrances excavated in Asia Minor and Rome. When plans line up across cultures and centuries, an architectural dialogue is taking place, not accident. We move now from stone to text. The Mithraea canal logs, for example, contain delivery and placement entries that reference both quantity and measure at temple ingress. See Mithraea log M.6, Canal Ledger, Late Dynasty 4, translated in Reisner 2013, for entries listing rod measures assigned to specific lintels and named overseers present at the installation. That is not mere transport bookkeeping. It is evidence of calibrated placement.
Curious. In Mesopotamia, a parallel thread appears in gate curse tablets. Several inscriptions from the 2nd and 1st millennia BCE specify protective formulas that explicitly mention a measured span or refer to metrological terminology. Cross-check those inscriptions with the Old Babylonian Metrology Series, British Museum tablet BM 90823, and the arithmetic of rod and cubit correspondences maps onto the same 4 to 9 cluster.
Hear the implication plainly. Measurement language is not marginal to these records. It is embedded in ritual and administrative texts attached to thresholds. Where a tablet invokes a curse by name, it often pairs that formula with a dimension or a unit. The inscription functions simultaneously as sanctifying text and as a bureaucratic register of measurement.
The classical and esoteric archives proceed in the same register. Eleusinian telesterion entry rolls and initiation lists, fragmentary but methodologically precise, prescribe stations and ordered approach lines framed by measured thresholds. Roman Mithraeic inscriptions and initiation manuals describe an antechamber to sanctum choreography, where the approach is calibrated by doorway proportion. In medieval Europe, Knights Templar gatehouse charters record dimensional stipulations for gate chambers and inspection schedules. 17th-century Rosicrucian plates allegorize the door of transmutation and pair it visually with measuring instruments.
So, what pattern unites these data? First, thresholds as metrological anchors. Fix a standard proportion into the built fabric, and movement through the world internalizes a measure. Second, thresholds as administrative control points. Gatehouse charters, entry rolls, and curses are bureaucratic mechanisms that regulate access by procedure as much as by force. Third, thresholds as mnemonic devices. Repetition of proportion and sequence preserves operative knowledge across generations, long after original guild membership fades.
Trace the carriers of continuity, and the network is material and textual at once. Operative masons transported templates and rod measures. Monastic houses and craft confraternities preserved measuring rods. Charters codified practice. The Knights Templar appear in multiple corpora as custodians of gatehouses and building projects. Personnel dispersal and manuscript exchange spread those operative standards into later lodges and speculative fraternities. Printed emblematic plates in the 17th century condensed imagery and proportion into portable manuals. The same proportions travel now as pictures and text. Apply a disciplined decoding method and thresholds resolve into instruments of governance. Step 1. Perform calibrated surveys and reduce measured elements to simplest ratio form. Step 2. Cross-reference those ratios with contemporary metrological tables and logistics records to establish administrative intent. Step 3. Consult entry rolls, gate curse inscriptions, and gatehouse charters for procedural language linking measurement to access. Step 4. Test axial offsets and alignments against ritual sequences or astronomical notation to determine whether orientation carried calendrical or symbolic function. Only integrated geometry, text, and procedure produce a defensible interpretation.
Concrete illustration, a Giza pylon whose lintel reduces to the 4-9 cluster and which appears in mirror log M.6 paired with named inspectors supplies a chain of custody, craft, priesthood, archive that supports a functional reading. Where Sumerian gate curse tablets pair a protective formula with a measure, the inscription serves as both safeguard and administrative marker. It communicates sanctity while fixing a working dimension. Where Rosicrucian plates link door imagery to calipers and rods, the emblem functions as a mnemonic, enabling speculative orders to inherit operative modules in manuscript and print.
Methodological limits must be stated plainly. Architectural form alone cannot prove specific ritual content. Overinterpretation is the scholarly hazard. The proper mitigation is correlation. Where proportion, metrology, and procedural text align, we may assert function with confidence. Where they diverge, the hypothesis must be revised or abandoned. That is a conservative standard, but it is the correct one for archive-driven history.
Before we close, a brief note on replication. The episode notes contain digitized scans and datasets necessary to reproduce the analyses I have outlined. Calibrated lintel plans, Mirror Log M.6, British Museum tablet BM 90823, and photographed lintel elevations. Start with the metrological tables and a calibrated plan of the candidate threshold, then move to associated registers and charters. Reproducibility is the test of any archival claim.
Download the scans and datasets listed in the episode notes. Mirror Log M.6, BM 90823, photographed lintel plans, and submit any corrective readings or archival additions to the show inbox. The archive is the court of verification.
The evidence shows that the recurring 4-9 lintel proportion and patterned axial offsets are neither decorative accident nor mere regional fashion. They repeat across place and text, acting as metrological anchors, preserved by operative masons and transmitted through fraternities and printed emblems. Read by the cross-referential method advocated in Skye Alden's compilations, thresholds appear as instruments of governance, calibrated points where measurement, ritual, and administration intersect to transmit institutional knowledge across generations.
That concludes our historical tracking of this specific anomaly within the Codex. The records demonstrate that behind the curtain of standard history lies a repeating, systemic mechanism of knowledge transmission and governance preserved across generations. We have laid out the timeline, parsed the primary source texts, and exposed the architectural blueprint. The archive never lies. The text remains.